Oh my god, it blows my mind that I'm getting ready to say this, but Dead Island 2 drops this month. This freaking month. Dead Island 2 has been in the making since like 2014, I believe. That is the first time I heard about this sequel, and we are just now getting it. For the longest time, I kept seeing posts about how it's still coming, we're gonna get it eventually, we're just having some issues, but it's still going smoothly. But all I did was roll my eyes and say, yeah right, bub. It's done. And I was wrong. So wrong that it even went gold about a month or two ago. This game is 100% completed and ready to be put in our hands right now. That is a crazy thing to say, and I don't even know how to feel about it, honestly. I want to say I'm excited, but I'm also a little scared and I have no idea why. Everything I've seen on this game looks to be a fun experience. Even things that may seem bad to others, I think it will be the best way to tackle this game. I remember hearing about the first Dead Island back in 2011. It was around Halloween time and my dad told me how I just had to try this new zombie game out. It is so scary. As soon as I saw the opening cinematic, I was pumped and ready to play. The idea of being stranded on an island in a vacation resort sounded amazing, and the way they did it was superb. I spent I don't know how many hours running around the shore and killing zombies around this beautiful environment. And now we're at Dead Island 2, and it looks just as beautiful, but instead of exploring an island, we're going to be running around a glorified summer LA. Let's read the synopsis for the game though. Taking place 10 years after the events of the first Dead Island and Dead Island Riptide, Dead Island 2 thrusts players into post-apocalyptic zombie-infested California after it has been locked down by the US government. With just a handful of survivors left, those that haven't succumbed to the virus have instead elected to become slayers, a highly aggressive and eccentric group of zombie hunters that pride themselves on killing as many zombies as stylishly as possible. Oh, and if you haven't played the first Dead Island, don't worry, it's not a prerequisite in the slightest for getting stuck in this sequel. Now that we have the idea of the story out of the way, let's break down the game so you can decide if it's worth your time or not. In Dead Island 2, we're going to be able to play up to 6 different characters in the game with their own dialogue and skill sets. The first one on this list is Amy, and I honestly heard some pretty bad things about her character, about how she just doesn't shut up. We won't even talk about that. Next up, we have Bruno, then we have Carla, then we have Danny, then we have Jacob. Last, we have Ryan. Now, the characters look a little bit more fun to me in this game than the original. Of course, in the original, I played as my boy Sam B because he was in the cinematic. He was cool as hell. Anyways, getting back to it, these characters do look a little bit more interesting. I do like their designs. One of the big features about this game, though, and I feel players could either like or dislike it, is the fact that it's not an open world. There are so many games out there that have big open worlds, and I feel they turn bloated and bland. But Dead Island 2 decided to strip down the open world aspect and split the world up into districts. Now, I know that could turn some players off, but I honestly think this is a good thing. It will give us smaller areas that are filled with lush environments, and they can spend more time and resources on filling those districts with life, or however you want to say it. Only playing the game will tell if it's a pro or not. One thing that does worry me is having those loading times though while changing districts. It's fine if there are loading times, but I hope to God they don't take long. I mean, most games now usually don't, so it's going to be a weird thing to go through if it does. When it comes to the fighting mechanic of Dead Island 2, it's very similar to the first one, which is fine by me. From what I've seen of the gameplay, everything looks slow and serious, which seems like the polar opposite of the look and aesthetic of the game that they're trying to show off. I don't mind the slower gameplay. I think it can add a sense of caution while playing. You are fighting against zombies after all. You can have fun with it, but maybe they made it that way so you'd have to think carefully when and how you might need to take on these undead nightmares. It still has a mixture of guns and melee weapons, and I'm sure I'll play just how I did in the first game. And, you know, that's melee. Guns are fun and all, but what makes these types of games so fun is exploring the weapons and upgrades so you can, you know, have fun with a flamethrower axe or an electric sword. Those are the type of weapons that will be fun for experimenting. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Literally, it might actually be a blast, depending on how you upgrade it, right? The coolest part about the combat, though, is the gore mechanic they've been showing off. You can see each individual hit come across the zombie's body, which sounds weird that I'm bragging about that, but we really haven't seen anything like that in a game before. You swing at their torso, you're liable to tear at parts of their clothing on top of slicing the skin. It's going to be disgustingly brilliant to do. They explain that you can artistically dismember the undead like never before, and even messily break various limbs and organs while they're already dead and on the ground. Like, what? That sounds insane. I know I seem to be bragging a lot about this game. I am indeed bragging, but I also have some worries, at least one anyways, and that's the card system they have instead of the skill tree. This could be a huge plus or a huge stinker for me. With games such as Marvel's Midnight Suns, the card system is a lot of fun to use, but I don't think Dead Island 2's card system will be like that. I think it's going to be similar to Back 4 Blood, and I honestly hated that. I don't know how fleshed out it'll be, but if it's exactly like Back 4 Blood's, I'm going to be a little disgusted, I think. Not that I hate Back 4 Blood, but the card system really bugged me. Moving along though, co-op is coming back, which will be a blast. One thing I enjoyed in the first Dead Island, and especially the Dying Light games, was killing some zomzoms with your pals. It's not about progressing in the story, but to screw around and see what stupid crap you can get yourself into. It's one of the best pastimes to do. Hey, you want to try hard on Call of Duty? No, bud. I'd rather just run around aimlessly and kill zombies in the dumbest ways possible. I don't want to try to look cool doing it. I want to see the absolute dumbest way I can kill zombies and have a good laugh. That's what these games are really all about. Sadly, we won't be getting split-screen couch co-op though. I don't know how many games that have that anymore, and even when they had it in the older game, it was starting to look aged at that time and look wonky. I don't like playing in slower frame rates just to fit another person beside me on the screen. One thing I'm curious to know though is how long the game is going to be. All I can hope is that it's under 20 hours. For some reason, I have trouble playing games over 20 hours these days and I have no idea why. Actually, I do know why, and that was because of Assassin's Creed Valhalla. That bloated piece of crap ruined it for me, like literally ruined long-form gaming. Anyways, what do you all think of Dead Island 2? Are you all excited? We're finally getting this game. It's been about a decade, so yeah, you bet your ass I'm excited to play. Let me know down in the comments below on your thoughts. Also, if you haven't already, please consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. It does help me out a bunch, but also helps you see more content like this in the future. But until next time, take it easy, bubs.